What if I told you that the most dangerous man in Toronto right now isn't wearing a hockey jersey? He's sitting in the front office with a blank check, a brand new title, and absolutely zero patience for the same old Maple Leaf story? And what if I also told you that one of the biggest superstars on this team just shotgunned a beer on stage with a country music legend in front of thousands of people, and somehow that moment told us more about the future of this franchise than any press conference has in the last 6 months? Stick with me, because today we are going deep into two of the hottest stories swirling around the blue and white right now: William Nylander's fresh start and what it actually means for this team going forward, and Anthony Mantha, the big, terrifying 33-goal winger that every analyst in the league is telling the Leafs they need to sign right now. This video is going to change the way you see the Leafs offseason. Don't touch that screen. Alright, let's start with the elephant in the room. The 2025-26 Toronto Maple Leaf season was, by almost every measure, a disaster. The franchise missed the playoffs for the first time in a decade. Let that sink in. A full decade of playoff hockey. And this was the year it all came crashing down. Brad Treliving is out as general manager. John Chayka has taken over, and immediately the speculation machine went into overdrive. Every core player's name started floating around in rumor mills. And at the very center of all that noise, number 88, William Nylander. Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Sports. Now here's what makes the Nylander situation so fascinating. On one hand, you have Nylander putting up 30 goals and 49 assists in just 65 regular season games in 2025-26, a 1.22 points per game pace that was among the best in the entire league. That is elite production. That is a number one winger producing at a true number one winger pace. The injuries hurt him. Missing those 17 games absolutely cost him a shot at a massive season. But when this man was on the ice, he was special. He also led the entire Maple Leafs team in power play points with 22. So on a power play unit that frankly underperformed for most of the year, Nylander was still the best option they had. That is what this guy brings to the table, night in and night out. RotoWire. But here's where it gets complicated. New GM John Chayka, according to reports from The Athletic's Chris Johnston, is open to listening to trade offers on almost anyone, except Captain Austin Matthews. Almost anyone. You understand what that means, right? When a new general manager comes into town and says he's listening on everybody, that puts William Nylander's name right in the middle of the fire. And the fan base started to panic. Social media went absolutely wild. Are they trading Nylander? Is this the end of the core? Is Chayka blowing the whole thing up? Yahoo Sports? And then William Nylander answered back. Not in a press conference, not through an agent, but in the most 2026 way possible. First, in his own YouTube vlog, Nylander stated directly, "I don't want to go anywhere. I love Toronto. This has been home for me for so long, and nothing would make me happier than to win here." That is about as clear as it gets, people. That is a superstar looking into a camera and telling you exactly where he stands. He also said the only scenario in which he would even consider leaving is if the organization decided to completely tear everything down and begin a full rebuild. That's the line in the sand. Retool? He's in. Full teardown? That's when conversations change. And then came the Luke Combs concert moment that the entire Toronto sports world could not stop talking about. Fans attending Luke Combs' second concert in Toronto were treated to an unexpected surprise when the country music star invited Nylander, along with Blue Jays pitchers Kevin Gausman and Patrick Corbin, onto the stage. And what did William Nylander do? He shotgunned a beer in front of thousands of screaming fans like a man who is completely, totally, 100% at home in this city. Sportsnet reporter Anna Dua summed it up perfectly, describing Nylander in that moment as simply a Toronto guy. And honestly, that's the vibe. That's the energy. This isn't a guy who's looking for the exit. This is a guy who's planted his flag in Toronto and is daring the front office to build something worthy around him. And here's the part that matters legally and contractually. Nylander is entering the third season of his 8-year, $92 million deal, which includes a full no-movement clause. That means the Maple Leafs cannot trade him unless he waives it and approves a destination. Read that again. They cannot move him without his blessing. So all those panicked tweets and all that speculation? John Chayka may be open to listening on Nylander, but William Nylander is not open to leaving. And unless something changes drastically in that front office relationship, number 88 is a Maple Leaf. But more than that, after seeing how New York embraced its long-awaited Knicks title, a Stanley Cup to Toronto, that is a man on a mission, not a man planning his escape route. Yahoo Sports, Nylander has reached the 30-goal mark for the 5th consecutive year and the 6th time in his 11-year career. The consistency is there. The talent is undeniable. What this team needs around him and around Austin Matthews is depth, real, physical, scoring depth. Which brings us to the second massive story in the Leafs universe right now, Anthony Mantha. Anthony Mantha had an incredible regular season with the Pittsburgh Penguins, posting 33 goals and 31 assists in 81 games. 33 goals. He led all pending free agent forwards in goals scored in the entire 2025-26 season. Nobody else was even close. No other free agent forward scored that many goals in 2025-26. When you're the top goal scorer among all available free agents, you have the entire league's attention, and the Maple Leafs are absolutely paying attention. Here's why Mantha makes so much sense for Toronto specifically. He is a 6', 230-pound winger who can score 25 to 30 goals. The Maple Leafs have lacked a physically imposing top 6 forward for years. This isn't a secret. Opposing defensemen do not get scared lining up against Toronto the way they should be scared of a team with Stanley Cup ambitions. Mantha changes that math immediately. You put a 6'5" power forward next to Austin Matthews or William Nylander, and suddenly the ice opens up in ways it simply hasn't before. NHL analyst Jim Parsons put it plainly, writing that if Mantha's situation drags on, he might be willing to sign a show-me deal to prove last season wasn't a one-off. A show-me deal for a 33-goal scorer. In what universe does John Chayka not make that call? Heavy. Now, to be fair, and we always keep it real on this channel, there are legitimate concerns about Mantha. He completely disappeared in the playoffs, posting just a single assist in 6 games and being at fault for the overtime goal that knocked the Penguins out of the playoffs. That is not a small knock on a guy. That is a defining moment. The biggest stages brought out the worst version of Anthony Mantha when Pittsburgh needed him most. Former NHL goalie turned analyst Carter Hutton was blunt about it, saying, "Mantha will need to prove the doubters wrong again, and that at his age and with his history of inconsistency, it's probably buyer beware." That warning carries weight. The Leafs have been burned before by big contracts on players who showed up in October and disappeared in April. Prior to this season, Mantha had topped 40 points on 3 separate occasions and had played for 3 different teams in the previous 5 years. That is a nomadic career. That is a player who has never truly found a home, never truly locked in, never truly delivered on what his physical tools promised. But here's the counter-argument. The Pittsburgh Penguins gave him a low-risk 1-year deal, and he absolutely exploded. Sometimes all a player needs is the right situation, the right line mates, the right coaching system, and the right moment to prove who he actually is. Analysts project Mantha could be looking for a 4 to 5 year contract worth around $6.35 million per season. That is a significant commitment for a player with question marks. But John Chayka is building something new in Toronto. He needs playmakers. He needs presence. He needs a team that can bully opponents, not just outskill them. And the bottom line is this: the Maple Leafs need to be better next season. Not a little better, a lot better. Missing the playoffs while carrying a core of this caliber is simply not acceptable to this fan base, to this market, or to any new general manager who wants to keep his job. So here's where we land today. William Nylander is not going anywhere. He has told you. His contract has told you. And honestly, the beer on stage at the Luke Combs concert told you better than any press release ever could. This is a man who wants to win in Toronto. And with a new GM, a new direction, and a motivated superstar core anchored by Matthews and Nylander, there is every reason to believe that 2026-27 could look completely different. But only if Chayka makes the right moves, only if the right pieces come in around that core. And signing Anthony Mantha, whether it happens on a show-me deal or a longer-term gamble, could be the first domino that sets off a chain reaction of belief in this city again. The Leafs offseason is just getting started. The drama is real, the stakes are enormous, and we will be here every single step of the way, breaking it all down for you. If you want to see Mantha in a Maple Leafs jersey, drop a comment below and let me know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button right now, because Leafs Nation, this offseason is about to get absolutely electric. We'll see you in the next one.